Dual incomes aren't bringing enough income into the household. Inflation is crushing people. All this money in circulation is actually hurting people because it's lowering their purchasing power. There's a lot of elements that are working against the family in this day and age, and individuals need multiple streams of income, or they need to be working towards that. So there's almost a sense of urgency for individuals to get out of their comfort zone and really just take a chance, because by not taking that chance, you're really placing yourself and your family at risk.
Hello. Welcome to another amazing episode of Lead to Greatness, where we believe in helping others reach their greatest potential and together change the world. Today on Lead to Greatness, we have Martin Saenz. If this is your first time joining us, please consider subscribing and hit that notification bell and hit that like button. This will be greatly appreciated in helping getting out this content to great leaders and great individuals like yourself. Martin brings social goods into smart investing. Martin is a managing partner of BQuest funds, thought leader in the mortgage note investment industry. Martin is generous with his firsthand expertise to the benefit of his followers and many clients. Doing this podcast, we're not financial advisors. What we want to do is really getting those income streams growing, where you have 4 or 5 or endless streams of income you can get to provide generational wealth for you and your family. So please help me welcome Martin with Mortgage Note Investment. Cedric Francis, and you're listening to Lead to Greatness.
I'd say the first 3 years were the most difficult years in business ownership. My wife and I, we were in corporate America for a few years after I got my MBA. And, I had a corporate job and thought that was the way to go. And once I realized that, that environment was not one I was going to thrive in or just enjoy in general, after leaving that position, my wife and I decided in 2004 we were going to do our own thing. And we just both did it together without any sources of income coming in for about a year till we figured out what we were going to do. It was a period of discovery for my wife and myself, where we kind of learned what we wanted to do as a business, as well as, who we were as a couple, as a relationship, and also individually. So we decided to launch a federal government contracting company selling goods and services to the federal government. And what was interesting is we were going to sell museum exhibit displays and signage to the federal government. We had never done museum exhibits or signage. We had zero experience in that field, and we had zero experience selling to the federal government. So as you can imagine, we were really low on the learning curve.
Right.
But we were very determined and very lean coming out of the gate.
What do you know now that you wish you would have known then?
It's interesting. That's a great question. What I know now is things like obtaining bank financing, scaling a team, all these things that I know and do as a day-to-day practice for the company. I probably wouldn't have been able to do at the time because I wouldn't have qualified for bank credit. I got credit card debt at the time and everything else. So I think the one thing that I learned at the time that I appreciate now, I'll kind of take it in reverse with your question, is that you should shoot for the stars out of the gate. You should look for what the most profitable client is and set up your business to obtain business from that entity. So when we came out, we said we're going to sell to the largest buyer in the world, which is the US federal government. And we're not going to settle for crumbs along the way, selling ourselves short in terms of product and sales. And we're just going to go right for the largest client. I would say that if you're going to set your sights to business owner, put targets that are going to get you excited and motivated, especially if you have a job and you're kind of doing a side hustle, or if you're doing it full time. You need to have your focus. You need to be able to focus in on the feat that's in front of you, the endeavor you're about to take up.
Right. You mentioned about the credit card debt and an issue, I guess the first time you started with business, the credit, and I'm not sure about the finance aspect. So as far as capital, would you approach it differently now versus then as far as having enough capital or capital or not? Let's go.
Yeah, capital not, let's go. And
Mm,
when we started out, we took out $225,000 in credit card debt,
mm,
and we paid bills with credit, and we paid payroll with credit, and so we were in the hole in a major way, and not just financially, but also emotionally, working tirelessly to get the business off the ground. And I look back on those days and I really appreciate that time. I almost think that a lot of individuals have to go through that period walking through the forest for a
right,
number of days to appreciate or gain a certain grounding when things do start to turn.
yeah.
And it gives you a nice sense of humility, I'd say, because it's easy to kind of get swept away with ego and all these other things that this world likes to stir up in one's mind.
Right. And I love that you said that. It's so interesting because I get the opportunity, and I mean, it's such a blessing to be able to interview great entrepreneurs like yourself every week. I constantly store from entrepreneurs. They say, you know what? I wouldn't change anything because of the journey, even with the mistakes, so much I learned, even the struggles and all the dark phases through entrepreneurship. That's what made them who they are. And to go through something like that, the recent pandemic just 2 years ago, as a lot of businesses didn't make it, but the ones that went through it early on, it's like, I've been here before, and it didn't affect them the same way it affects someone that may had the easy road of entrepreneurship.
Yeah, absolutely. I just remember so many times where there was one day we made payroll day of a number of times.
Wow.
And there was one time when payroll was due at 12 noon, and I didn't have the money, and a check came in at 11 a.m.,
Wow.
an hour before I had to pay everybody.
Wow.
Yeah, and then what also too you learn is to have tough conversations.
Mm,
So whether they're tough conversations with vendors where you're working out arrangements and payment plans,
yeah,
or it's tough conversations with the end customers that are trying to kind of pull you left and right and get more out of you than what's contracted.
yeah.
It really kind of gives you the tough skin to go at it. Also, too, what's interesting is when you go and launch a business, you have elements that come against you through the course of time, and so you don't know what you don't know. And so what we found is we found a lot of large competitors in that space
Mm,
that started to look down on us, and started, we would see them at walkthroughs, at certain site visits and whatnot. And then we would have, a lot of condescension. They were like, well, you don't want to look at those guys. They work out of their basement, all this kind of negativity. But
yeah.
what's interesting is when we turned the corner after the third year in business and we obtained the only exhibit contract at the Pentagon, and it was a long-term contract, those competitors that were, condescending towards us, they started to want to partner with us, and they
Yeah.
started to want to be connected to us. And it was really a turning point. But I have to say that most of my lessons learned have been from those 3 years getting off the ground.
Thank you for being candid and really sharing this, because there's someone right now, they're in that season right now where it's like, man, did I make a mistake? They have the passion, they have the vision, and I'm talking about something that's working. I mean, they're called to do it, and the condition is not right, the season is not quite right, and it's like, man, you know what? Maybe I should have waited, or maybe I shouldn't have done it. But I'm listening to entrepreneurs week after week say the same thing. Is what got them there. And this
Well,
is so
also community. Also, I would throw in Cedric, the perseverance. So, like, we to this point, we've only been talking about, how I walk through this journey. Obviously, my wife was with me every step of the way,
absolutely.
but you can't overemphasize the significance of building a community around you that can act as a support. to you. There's a number of different small business centers around the country. There's SCORE, which is a mentorship program sponsored by SBA. People if you join the industry trade groups, you'll find people, whatever trade it is, you'll find people that will take you under their wing and, give you some of their time because they were at that point at one point in their life. So for anybody that's kind of midway through the journey and they're struggling and they're frustrated because they're not where they expected to be at this point, I would just say you got to look beyond yourself at that point and find people that you can connect with that have been through that journey and that maybe can kind of give you some words of wisdom.
Thank you. That is a knowledge bomb for us because that is definitely wisdom. Just sharing with us is not doing it by ourselves to get involved with a community. So thank you for sharing that. What you do now?
So in 2013, had a point where we sold our company, my wife and I. We had some properties that we were managing and we owned as landlords.
Mhm.
And it was a point in my life where I was also spiritually void inside. I had kind of just been chasing the dollar up to that point. And it was a turning point where I gained spirituality and I shifted my focus to be of service to others.
Wow.
And as soon as I did that from 2013 and on, I started achieving peace in my life. I started seeking that as my goal, peace, joy, and happiness. And also what I achieved as a result from that is balance in my life. So when things happen that are negative, I don't let it get too negative for me. Things happen that are wonderful, I may celebrate for a minute. I think it was Emmett Smith that said, that's what he learned, right? He won a game and he said he celebrated only for a day, and then he lost a game, he got down only for a day, but after that day is done, back to work. And so that's how I live my life, and being of service. Like, we're of service to our investors that invest in our fund, company's BQuest income fund. We're of service to all the homeowners that we service with all the mortgages we own, and we treat individuals like gold because they're our customers. And we're of service to all the employees. We have 16 employees now, soon to be 20.
Wow.
So every day I come in, I'm here to be of service to them. So, and all the people that we support, all the attorneys and all the people outside our walls that we support their livelihoods, that's a great feeling to me inside.
Let's talk about BQuest funds. What inspired you to begin this journey and why?
Yeah, so 2013, I got into the mortgage note industry, buying mortgages at a discount from banks, and I started buying them in a distressed state. So banks would sell them to me at a discount. These are mortgages where the homeowner had an unfortunate incident like a divorce or a health issue, and they were not able to make their mortgage payments. So I would buy those in at a discount, and I would connect with the homeowner and work out a payment plan that they could afford to help keep them in their home. So that became my whole model, is helping homeowners get back on track with their mortgages so they wouldn't lose their homes while making a cash flow stream for myself and my company. And that worked well over the years. I wrote a few books on the industry, and I brought on a partner in 2019, and we decided to open this up to the investors that want to earn passive income in their life, because this has done well for us. So we wanted to kind of grow that and increase our family. And that's why we opened BQuest funds, which people share in our profit from this mortgage note industry. And that's the reason we launched it.
Wow. I'm listening. I'm like, note investing. I still don't understand. Explain to me and the Lead to Greatness community, what is note investing?
Sure. So note investing is if you take a mortgage. So let's say you want to buy a house and you go to the bank and you apply for the mortgage, and it goes through underwriting at a lender or a bank there locally for yourself. And what happens is the bank holds on to that mortgage, and 4% of the cases, that mortgage goes into default. So if there's 100 mortgages originated, 4 go into default
Wow.
for some reason. Like I mentioned, a divorce happens, someone loses their job, something like that. And so after a period of time, if that bank is unable to help that homeowner, because banks are not incredibly great at working with people from a customer service perspective, always, they will bundle off those mortgages into pools and sell them to hedge funds like our hedge fund at a discount. So someone may owe $50,000, but they're going to sell it to us for $20,000 because the homeowner hasn't made a payment in 4 years. And so what we do is we get in touch with that homeowner, and oftentimes what we find is the person's been remarried, they've gotten their health back, some good fortune has come around because life works in cycles, and we're able to work out a payment plan. Because we bought it at a discount, we're able to make certain concessions to help bring them back on their feet. And so once we're able to get a loan modification, get them back paying, then we monitor that over a period of 12 months, which creates a seasoning factor for that mortgage. And once those mortgages are seasoned, then BQuest funds will look to buy them in, as long as they qualify, buy them into our income fund, which allows us to pay out our investors on a monthly basis.
Wow, this is interesting. So let's talk about the risk. For example, 2008, we had the market crash. 2020, you had people losing their homes because of jobs. So what are the risks in note investing?
Sure. So obviously, like any investment, if you're not buying correctly, there are pitfalls to it. You need to be well versed in compliance, because there's numerous laws from a statewide perspective to federal government wide perspective. So you have to make sure that you're in compliance with what you're doing. You have to, be well versed in acquisition processes in terms of due diligence, all the title searches you're pulling, credit reporting, skip tracing, everything that a bank does to underwrite that mortgage, we do in our company. We have, skilled employees that know how to pull these reports and read them and analyze the data. And so, that's all part of the process. So if you're buying correctly and you know what you're buying before you buy it, it helps mitigate the risk once you own that asset, and it gives you a comfort level when you're working with that homeowner, that you have a sense of what's going on with their situation.
How do you get into the note investing?
I wrote a book on it, 2017, called Note Investing Made Easier. Cedric, if you send me your address, I'll be happy to mail you out a book once the show's over, if that's cool with you.
Absolutely.
But aside that, I mean, one should be on Amazon.com, not just pulling my book, but as many books as they can find. Because whether you're starting into the note investing industry for yourself, which is completely incredible, because if you put in the work, this industry's been a blessing to me and my family. And I hope the same for many others that want to kind of go down the same road. But regardless of whether it's note investing or some other area, it should always start with education. Reading books, watching podcasts like your podcast, and just getting self-educated, going to trade shows or industry led conferences in your industry, and building an action plan for moving forward in that with your business.
So as far as BQuest funds, what is the relationship between you all and local investors?
Sure. So we buy in all states. So we're nationwide buyers. We buy in pools of mortgages from across the United States. So versus someone that may work locally, where they're buying real estate like REO properties, post auction, or they're investing in seller take back notes, or like contract for deeds locally within a community. We believe we have more scalability with our model. So which allows us to work with more investors and bringing them into the fund. And it allows us to diversify too, because we're not tied to one particular market if something does happen in that market.
So do the person need to find the properties, or you all do that? So the investor is just investing into.
So BQuest funds it's very interesting, because the people that invest in BQuest funds are equity stakeholders in the company. So literally, it is the most passive investing that you can do out there in the marketplace, earning 9% as a annual return paid monthly to our investors. And so, individuals can just simply one simple investment and they receive cash flow for life because it's an evergreen fund. So there's no expiration to it. We do all the heavy lifting. We take investor money, and also too, I'm the largest investor in the fund as well as my partner. So we have well over $1 million in the fund ourselves. So we have, we go out, we take investor money in, we go out, we purchase mortgages that are paying and seasoned and performing and bring them into our fund. And those monthly payments from the homeowners pay our investors on a monthly basis. So our investors literally just have to receive an ACH payment into their account in the beginning of every month.
As a new client, what can someone expect from you and your team?
Incredible customer service. So from, the minute someone's thinking about coming in, they, during Monday through Friday, they send us an email, they give us a call, usually same day, that we're going to set up a Zoom call with them, do a demo with them, or just talk to them over the phone about the fund. And what we want to find out is it a good fit? So the last thing we want to do is come up with go into partnership with someone places their money and then they don't feel comfortable or they weren't sure and they just did it anyway. We want people to come in to fully understand what we're doing, fully understand how we're protecting their investment, fully understand how we will communicate with them and have full transparency. And once we establish that it is a fit, at that point, we send them the paperwork. And if they're liquid and they have funds in the bank that are ready to roll, it can take as little as a day to get the investment subscribed and going for them.
So how is the funding structured?
So the fund it's set up as a 506c Reg D income fund. So that's how it's registered. And people that invest in are equity stakeholders. However, the fund pays out investors as if it's a debt investment because it pays out monthly. And we did it for that way for one reason. We wanted to give the investors assurance that they had an equity stake in the whole portfolio of the fund. There's currently $11 million worth of mortgages, soon to be about 17 million in the next 30 days or so.
Amazing.
So, we want people to know that, they're part of what we're doing here. We mail them out monthly statements so they can see what's going on with their account. We have an investor portal login. They can see what their account's doing 24/7. And we have a quarterly letter that we send out with our company financials, along with a Christmas party every December in Sarasota, Florida. One thing, it's interesting because I love that you're spending so much time educating, working with individuals that are getting their businesses off the ground or are thinking about it, because there's a real crush that's going on with individuals in our country, families in our country, where, dual incomes aren't bringing enough income into the household. Inflation is crushing people. All this money in circulation is actually hurting people because it's lowering their purchasing power.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of elements that are working against the family in this day and age, and individuals need multiple streams of income, or they need to be working towards that. So there's almost a sense of urgency for individuals to kind of get uncomfortable and get out of their comfort zone and really just take a chance, because by not taking that chance, you're really placing yourself and your family at risk.
Purpose. This is a purpose behind it, to help somebody else, to help some family, to help some child where the family don't have to move out the house and they can still graduate from that same high school within. I mean, this is so awesome. And it's far beyond just the money, but really, saving marriages, saving children at their family grow up home, and just helping towards the legacy of our future. So this is so amazing. So amazing.
And you know what's interesting, Cedric? Thank you for that. What's interesting is if I go and work with these homeowners and I do it with bad intentions, and I try to, let's say, stick it to them and give them payments they can't afford, et cetera, then they're not going to be able to sustain those payments. So it almost forces the hand. I mean, obviously we come in with that intention to help, but if I was trying to kind of get away with more than I should be getting away with, say, then it would backfire because people would not be making their payments because they couldn't afford to make their payments. So it's in the to the benefit of us as a team, the homeowners, to come up with a middle ground,
Yeah.
a win-win to help them get back on their feet.
Yeah, I really love it. And I love the concept there's companies set up right now. They're just waiting on individuals to default and they're, paying the taxes. That's all kind of thing. The things and people just
Sure.
taking, using people shortcomings and things and taking advantage of that to capitalize to become wealthy. I definitely love what you're doing to really, really trying to help the individuals. And I think that's so amazing. And man, hats off to you for that.
Thank you, Cedric. At the end of the day, passive income is really the heart of what we're doing here. And I that would be the one thing that I knew that we needed to obtain financial freedom through passive income when we first started 17 years ago. But it wasn't until I started in the mortgage note investing that I really learned that that's where everyone should be focused on earning as much active income as you can through side hustles and your job and everything else. But you need to have some game plan by which you're going to be investing in vehicles that spit out passive income on a monthly basis, because you're not going to be able to work forever.
Yeah.
And at some point you need money working for you.
Sure. You said 9%, right?
Correct.
And so lead to greatness. So listen to this. And this is a big difference between your money sitting inside a bank account and now you have inflation. So now the money that's in your bank account is now worth less. Every year is worth less and less, and it's just sitting in there. Meanwhile, the banks is using that money and they're investing the money that you put in the bank that really is not there in the bank. They're using these numbers and they're making money off of this. And this is an opportunity because money sitting in the savings account, I believe what is
Yeah.
0.01%, something like this, really low. So just think about this, what Martin is saying. So 9%. So that's 9% of your money. That's investing your money instead of money sitting in the savings account. Opportunities to invest your money instead of losing money just sitting there, not moving, not driving, just park money. You can actually make you some money and make a living off of this.
Everybody should be thinking about doing the math on any type of venture they're doing. It makes me think. I talked to someone yesterday, and this gentleman was in his 50s. I talk to investors every day because I raise capital for the fund as my primary role right now. And he's in his early 50s. He has kids that are about to go to college, and he wants to start coming into BQuest to earn passive income. And I asked him, I said, well, how much do you want to see when you retire coming to you passively so that you maintain your standard of living? And he said 20,000 a month. And I'm like, okay, well, that's cool, right? That's a good number to work towards.
Hmm.
How much do you have now coming to you passively? And he said zero. Okay, so now we need to know, we know both point A and point B, right? So now we need to close the distance between the two. And how do you get from zero invested into passive income investments to 3 million?
Yeah.
And so obviously everything starts working in increments, right? You don't just go, and very few of us have just 3 million cash in the bank to throw
Right.
into BQuest and start earning the 20K.
Right.
So I'm just like, well, you got to just start, right? And then just have a game plan where you're going to add to it at a certain level so that at the end point you have 3 million, and it's going to give you what it is you want to receive on a monthly basis for retirement.
Martin, wow, I really appreciate you coming on to educate us and enlighten us on industry that, there may be listeners that know about it, but most of us, this investment endeavor is definitely new for most of us. But really appreciate you. And you have 3 books. I want you to mention, and you're on Amazon. Your books are selling on Amazon. And also, listen to me, if for all our busy entrepreneurs don't always have time to read, sometimes you're on the go while you're in your vehicle. I mean, he don't just have books on Amazon. He have books on Audible as well, where you can go on Audible and you can listen to the books in your car or in between meetings or in going from one location to the next. You can still get educated in between. So here you go, Martin. I want you to go ahead and let him have it, talk about it, and then we're going to find out how people can learn more about you and what you do.
Sure, actually, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, the best place to go is bqfunds.com, our website, and for one, to learn more about the income fund. If you want to learn more about note investing and what the industry is about, and if it could be something for you to be active in, you go to Amazon and punch up my name, Martin Saenz, Saenz, and you'll find all my books there. And but you should also be encouraged to read as many books as you can, because there's like anything else, there's a lot of complexity in this industry. But whatever you do, you got to do something. So, whether it's note investing or not, make a decision if it's for you. And if you feel like it's for you, then you need to reach out to us. Send me an email, martin@bqfunds.com. And, we can set up a time to talk about BQuest funds. Go to the website, read some books, or if you're like, hey, this is passive income, I don't need it right now, then just move on to the next thing. But make a decision is what I would just recommend.
Thank you, Martin. On behalf of the Lead to Greatness community, we want to thank you so very much for taking time out of your busy schedule and adding value to us all.
Cedric, I truly appreciated this time together, and I can't wait to get some books out to you. And let's definitely stay connected. You are one awesome dude.
Thank you. You too. I love your spirit, and I love what you're doing, man. Let's keep making a difference and changing the world. And man, you
awesome.
And don't forget to subscribe to Lead to Greatness if this is your first time. And if this podcast was helpful to you, leave a big thumbs up. And also, I want you to check out our Marriage Coach podcast, the podcast with my wife and I. If you're on iTunes, please rate this podcast and leave a review and help get the word out. Again, thank you, Lead to Greatness Nation, for joining us on today. Looking forward to seeing you again on next week. Till then, remember, if you help others reach their greatest potential, together we can change the world. Peace. We out.